Hi there, I'm Daniel Jason Booth from splmixing.com. Today we're going to look at tom-toms. We're just going to make them bigger, punchier and cleaner, just as the title says. I think that's what I'm going to call it anyway. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just call it sad, very unhappy tom-toms that are flabby and no. Here is a before and after. In the before, it's just a whole heap of rumbling and noise and chaos. In the after, it's so much cleaner. It still sounds natural. Have a listen to the snare drum and how it changes between those two different ones, okay? The snare isn't quite as strong in the before, and in the after it's much more focused. When we're recording drums, our main focus is to get the overheads in phase with both the snare primarily and the kick drum. The tom-toms, we try as much as we can to get them in phase. They will never be anywhere near as much in phase with the overheads as the snare and the kick are with the overheads. Let me introduce you to the topic of all-pass filters. Here is one plugin that I've been using. It's free. So with Tom 1, you can see what I've done here. You can draw them in and just go nuts. But what I found was that you get pre-ringing like you would get with a linear phase EQ. So less is more for sure. You can really tailor the signal to try and get it more in phase. So I'll just show you a quick before and after between those two. Okay, so it just gives you a lot more low end without actually using EQ. You probably won't get everything completely in phase, but you can get it somewhat more in phase than what it was, and that's good. That'll give you much more powerful sounding toms. The tom-toms are duplicated, and what I've done is with each of these hits, copied them down, and then I've faded it. And then I've put a little fade here, which you can't see, but it is there. It's the best gate you'll ever have. If you've ever used gates on tom-toms, you'll notice that they chatter. They're triggered by something. Even a really well-tuned gate is still going to be triggered by things like the snare drum. When I first started mixing, someone showed me this technique, and I just, by default, chopped out all the toms. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound natural either. All of those original tom-toms are getting fed to the tom-tom master, and all the single hit toms that I've cut from those tracks, they're going to here, and they're getting quite a big boost of EQ into a compressor, which is a multi-mono version of the compressor. Let me just play that. Without cutting out those tom-toms, you would have ended up with something like... Okay, not a great sound, lots of rumbling and carrying on. I'm going to pull that all the way down. Have a listen what happens when you take this tom-tom track, which has the EQ on it, the compression, okay, the nice punchy, clean, single tom hits, and have a listen to what happens when you feed in the original toms back underneath. So let me explain it like this. We're getting a bit of extra power from our tom-toms by getting them more in phase. We're highlighting each tom hit by having it super duper EQ'd and compressed and exactly the way we want it to sound for that split second so that it punches through. We're using the original toms and we're just blending them underneath. The best of both worlds, really. It's like the best gate in the world, and it's also allowing you to have the naturalness of those original toms. It's there at your disposal on a fader that you can use to set the level that works for the music that you're working on. You can set the level of the bleed. How cool is that? I love it. I just wanted to share this with you because I thought it was super cool. As ever, like, subscribe, share the video, come and join us on the music community. It would be great to connect with you on Facebook. Hope you have a safe holiday period, and until next time, happy mixing.